The training hall vibrated with restrained anticipation. Cadets filled the tiered rows, scaled, feathered, plated, and wrapped in shimmering hides, each species carrying itself with quiet confidence. When the instructor strode to the center, the ambient murmurs died instantly. "Today," he said, his voice sharp and cutting, "you will prove your worth. Build a weapon. You may use only what exists in this room." Confident glances were exchanged. Claws flexed. Eyes adjusted, pupils dilating and narrowing as light shifted. To them, it was a simple exercise, shaping energy, bending alloys, coaxing symbiotes into form. A ripple of laughter rolled through the back rows. Someone muttered just loudly enough to carry. "What can a human do? Wave a spoon at us." Jason McCree sat 3 seats back, elbows resting on his knees, fingers still, head slightly lowered. He didn't react. He didn't need to dot. The instructor merely raised a hand. The room exploded into motion. A Silvex cadet hissed softly, spreading its claws across the floor as arcs of charged light bloomed into the air. Its natural electrokinetic ability condensed plasma into a blade that shimmered with lethal elegance. Edges crackling with silent blue flashes that danced along the walls. Beside it, a Talon crouched and whispered to a seed retrieved from a personal kit. The seed bloomed instantly, twisting and growing until it hardened into a coiled bioform, dark green, pulsing with toxin sacs. The living stinger latched onto the cadet's arm, merging flesh and weapon seamlessly. Across the hall, a massive quadruped from the carry regions dismantled the instructor's bench with methodical care. Reinforced alloy was reshaped into a broad hammerhead, vibration nodes humming low enough to rattle the floor. The air thickened with danger. Blades whispered. Stingers hissed. Weapons formed with ritual, memory, and pride. They weren't tools. They were identity. Jason still hadn't moved. One finger tapped lightly against the seam of his uniform, as his eyes tracked everything angles. Weight, spacing. But his expression never changed. When the last cadet stepped back, weapon humming or glowing proudly, Jason stood. A few turned. One chuckled. Another muttered something that translated loosely to, "He's giving up." Jason walked forward empty-handed. He stopped beside a standard-issue chairwood composite, steel supports. He crouched, gripped the front leg, and yanked. The crack echoed through the hall like a gunshot. Several cadets flinched. One dropped a tool. The carry hammer stilled mid-dash vibration. Jason held the broken leg, jagged end angled away. He sat cross-legged and pressed the tip to the floor tile, dragging it back and forth in long, steady strokes. The sound was unpleasant, calm, intentional. "What is he doing?" One cadet whispered, "Sharpening." The Talon replied quietly, "Like a predator." Jason didn't stop until the edge was thinner, cleaner. Crude, but lethal. He stood, stance loose, weapon held low. No pride, no challenge. Just readiness. He turned toward the reinforced training dummy at the far wall, hardened composite resistant to plasma, acid, and blunt force. Earlier impacts had barely scuffed it. Jason adjusted his grip. Then he threw. The spear spun twice and struck with a thunderous impact. Splinters exploded outward as the wooden shaft buried itself deep into the dummy's chest. The internal frame groaned, metal shuddering under the force. Silence slammed down. The instructor approached, studying the dummy, then Jason, then the spear. He tapped his datapad. "Note this," he said. "Humans do not require technology. To them, anything can become a weapon." A Silvex cadet approached the dummy and pulled. Nothing. He tried again. Then again, using all 4 arms, still nothing. Jason finally spoke. "Wrong angles." It splintered on entry. The Silvex froze and stepped back. "What do you call it?" The instructor asked. Jason shrugged. "A spear. Back home, kids make them when they're bored." The bioweapons dimmed. Plasma blades wavered. The hammer was gently lowered. The spear stayed. That night, long after curfew, a security drone recorded silent footage outside dormitory hall. Jason sat barefoot on his bed, humming softly. In his hands was a bedpost, slowly being carved and tested against a steel cup. The footage was flag. The chair spear became a problem. At first, it was curiosity, then discomfort. Days passed. The dummy remained center stage, spear jutting from its chest like an accusation. No one tried to remove it again. Cadets lingered at the entrance longer each morning. Some avoided looking at it. Others stared too long. When team exercises were announced, tension followed. Jason was grouped with Yeko and a carry cadet named Thurin. The task was a simulated breach. Training weapons only. Inside the maze, Jason moved first. "Stick close," he said. "Watch everything." When contact came, Thurin went down fast. Yakai held longer. Jason didn't retreat. He vanished briefly and returned with a broken wall panel, using it not as a weapon, but leverage. The encounter ended quickly. "Why not use the baton?" Yakai asked later. "It wasn't needed," Jason replied. "Timing matters more." Injuries followed. Orders for rest. Jason complied. Still, the scraping sounds returned at night. When asked why, he answered simply, "If I can shape something, I'm not helpless." The academy noticed. Evaluations increased. Monitoring logs grew thicker. During love terrain drills, Jason fell into a crevice. Injured, alone, he scavenged, braced his ankle, and climbed out anyway. Recovery was slow. He followed every rule. When he returned, he sharpened another piece of wood, more carefully this time, and embedded it quietly into a dummy. No one laughed. During a seminar, Jason was called forward. He didn't demonstrate violence. He talked about adaptation, about people who made tools from nothing, about persistence. He snapped a chair leg and passed it around. The room stayed silent. Later, others began carving. The final siege drill came. Energy weapons failed. Symbiotes fled. Jason's team used scraps and broken poles. They passed because they didn't break. The original dummy was retired. The spear was mounted near the academy entrance. The placard read, "Improvised, effective, human." Jason didn't look at it often, but when he did, it wasn't pride he felt, just reassurance. There was always something you could use, even a broken chair.